Hey all you beautiful peoples, I'm Anamanga Klendor, and welcome to my 1,500th video. So when I hit 1,000 videos, I made a special talking about every single episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender. And this time, I'm going to be doing something similar. I'm going to be talking about every single comic from the series. Every single one of them. And there are a lot. So before we start, a couple things I'd like to make clear. First, unlike the show is well known by everyone. Even people who have never seen the show have heard of it. That's how well known it is. But the comics are not nearly as well known. They certainly do have their fans, but they're not nearly as well known as the show is. So I will. So when it comes to the big trilogies, like The Promise, The Search, The Rift, so on and so forth, I will not be covering every single detail on that happens in them. I will be going over the main plot of each story and talking about the things that interested me in each story. Simply so that anyone who hasn't read the books can still enjoy them without me spoiling everything about them. I'm simply going to be covering the main plot of each of those books and what I personally found interesting. And there's also Team Avatar Tales and The Lost Adventures. These are collections of stories, and I will be giving very basic rundowns of what happens in each of these comics. And as far as any interesting things that I have to say about any of these, I will wait until after this part is done. Once I've gotten this stuff out of the way, I'll talk about my personal favorite short stories of these. And then the third thing is that there is one more book of comics that I just had it in my head and I'm drawing a blank now. I forget what it's called, but it is another book similar to Team Avatar Tales that tells just a bunch of short little stories, but every single one of these stories has the characters in chibi form, similar to how they looked in the 3 shorts that the show got during the start of season 3. So that's its own book, and I tried finding it, and I could not find it anywhere, unfortunately. I haven't been able to get my hands on that just yet, so I will be talking about that, but that's going to be in a future video. I will talk about that, but that's just going to be in a future video, so I'm not going to be including that here. Also, as a fourth note, there are Legend of Korra comics that I can still talk about, and there are different video games I can talk about, and the movie and the live-action Netflix show. I can talk about all that, but I'm gonna save that for my 2,500th video. As I've already discussed back in my 1,000th video that I plan on giving the Legend of Korra the same treatment at 2,000 videos. So, So yeah. So those are the four little notes that I need that I just had to make clear. With that said, how many comics are there? If you count every single part, if you end up counting every single part of every single trilogy as its own comic, then there are a total of 59 comics currently. At least from the ones that I'm going to cover. There's like another 8 comics in that chibi book that I wasn't able to get my hands on, as well as another book that is set to come out early next year. That is about Zuko and Mei. So yeah, they're still making more comics for Last Airbender, and I will be covering every single one of them that comes out. But yeah, so in any case, now that I've gotten all 5 talking points out of the way, let's go ahead and jump right in with the Lost Adventures. So, the first one is called Be Calm, and I will be looking at the titles here in this book just to make sure I'm actually getting them right. And Be Calm is just a funny little short comic of the team stops to rest for a bit, and Aang ends up trapping a few bee scorpions. Which, that just sounds terrifying. Bee scorpions, that sounds absolutely horrifying. They're all attracted to him because of his outfit, his orange and yellow outfit. They're all very attracted to that. And so they all just end up covering him, and he ends up using airbending to blow them all off, and it takes them all off. And so they all start. The bee scorpions all start chasing him. He flies off, manages to lose them by jumping over a campfire, and scaring them. So most of them end up scattering. But one brave bee scorpion kept following him, but instead latched onto a Fire Nation soldier. And that's it. Aang just leaves. Again, I'm not going to have much to comment about most of these. They're just cute, funny little comics. The next is Water War. And in Water War, it's about Katara, and these little kids are throwing water balloons at a bunch of passerbys. Katara notices this and basically sets a trap for them. She basically walks by, making herself seem like an easy target, and then when they try to throw water balloons down at her, she just flings them back up. The kids go running and hide, and then when they come back out, they look out the window, and there's just a whole bunch of water that she has right under the windowsill that just splashes up and hit that she just has splash up and hit them. And then don't blow it, which this one was Aang got sick. Aang is sick, and Katara has this medicine that's like super gross and stinks to high heaven. But it's supposed to be really effective against colds. And he keeps denying it. He keeps saying, no, I don't want that. And eventually his sneezing gets so bad that it starts getting the attention of the Fire Nation. And so once they manage to get away, manage to get away, then Aang's like, okay, we can do the medicine. And yeah, that's basically it. Next is relics. Oh, is this? Pretty sure this is the one. Yeah. Oh man, this one. Yeah. So relics is a really interesting one. And Aang. And keep in mind, these first few take place supposedly take place during the events of season 1. That's kind of the setting. These are all season 1. And he is Katara and Sokka end up hearing from this merchant about how there are supposedly a ton of Airbender relics nearby. That back when the 100-Year War started, there was an area that Airbenders frequented for safety, and Aang can't resist the temptation to go see what's it like. What was this sanctuary? Was it safe? And then he's captured by General Zhao, and General Zhao reveals that back when the 100-Year War first started, some Airbenders got away. Some Airbenders managed to get away from the initial attack, and Fire Lord Sozin used their relics and placed them in locations like this to trick Airbenders into thinking it was a safe sanctuary and lured them in to be killed. So that's, oh man, that really sucks. Finding out that that's the tactic they used against the Airbenders. They used their own trinkets and everyday objects as a way of luring more in. So that's kind of dark, but Aang, of course, gets out of it. Aang gets out of it, and just goes back and meets up with his friends. And then the last one in Book 1 Water is Fruit Stand Freestyle. And this one, let me look. I don't think, there's not a single word in it. It's just a two-page comic, and it's just misadventures of Momo trying to get some fruit. And that's it. So, next is Book 2 Earth comics. So these are comics that take place during the setting of the second season. And first up is Sleep Bending. In this one, Aang is having a very vivid dream, and he's bending air in his sleep, and is just causing havoc and chaos for the rest of the team. There's nothing else to say there. The rest of the team is kind of annoyed at him. Is kind of annoyed at him. The next one is Lessons, and Lessons is Toph is trying to teach Aang how to feel the earth, how to listen to the earth, and Sokka is of course being rowdy and noisy, and so Toph just teaches him a lesson by using earthbending to put him on a really high rock formation, so he can't get down, and she just kind of leaves them there all day until night comes. Then there's after that it's Sokka the Avatar. Sokka is feeling kind of down. He feels like he hasn't really done. Sokka's feeling kind of down. He feels like he hasn't really been contributing much to the team lately, and so then there's this girl he tries to. There's this girl Aang convinces him to try talking to a girl. He does. The girl's not giving him any time a time of day. So he tries to. He ends up trying to say that he's friends with the Avatar. He ends up asking her, "Do you know the Avatar?" And she just immediately assumes he's the Avatar. He's about to deny her. He's straight up about to deny her and say that it's his friend. But Aang hypes him up. Aang is like, "Yeah, he is the Avatar. I am. I mean, I am." And Aang starts helping him out, helping to cheer him up. And then the Rough Rhinos, the whole fame of people thinking he's the Avatar is starting to go to his head, and then the Rough Rhinos show up, and Aang, Toph, and Katara all deal with them, and then everyone just assumes, he's so humble he allows his servants to get some glory as well. Yeah. So that's just where it ends with all of them really ticked at Sokka. I mean, at the end of the day, Aang's the one who started this. It is kind of Aang's fault. He straight up set Sokka up for that. And then all of them continued to help him. And make everyone believe that he was the Avatar. So they weren't exactly encouraged. They weren't exactly discouraging his behavior. They were enabling him. But then Dirty is Only Skin Deep is the next one. In that one, Toph is real dirty, and Katara wants her to take a bath. She doesn't want to, so Katara tosses her into the water, and it's like insanely shallow water. It's insanely shallow water. And she's just splashing around saying how she's drowning and will not stop yelling until Katara ends up splitting the water, and then she just mud bends and gets everybody else filthy. So now everyone needs baths. Next one is Divided We Fall. Okay, I'm going to hold off on talking about that one, because that one's a special case. So, okay. Reach for the Toph is the next one. And there's nothing much to say about that one. In that one, the gang, Aang, Sokka, and Katara are all trying to beat Toph, and Toph just beats all of them, showing that she's the strongest in the group. And that's it. That's it. Next is It's Only Natural. This takes place shortly after season 2's finale. And Sokka is trying to teach Bosco how to be a real bear, how to act like a real bear. And it's just not working. It's just not working. Bosco is screwing everything up, and then at the end, the Earth King is like, "Well, I did learn that there is so much about the world that I never knew. So I'm gonna go. Travel with Bosco, and we're gonna become traveling folk." And they just walk off and completely forget the fact that Bosco still has no idea how to survive in the wild. So yeah, it's a wonder how they managed to survive to the end of the series. Then it's going home. Then it's going home. The next one is going home again. Which also takes place shortly after the end of season 2, and it is on Zuko's perspective, and it's on Zuko's perspective, and he's not sure he wants to go back home. He doesn't feel like he has regained his honor. He doesn't feel like he has a place at home, and so Azula and Ty Lee end up doing. Azula basically does the one nice thing she's ever done for Zuko, essentially, and she basically sets him and May up on a blind date. Tricks both of them into going to a secluded area with lots of with like all of their favorite foods, and basically just kind of sets them up on this date, while also laughing at them from the bushes. The two of them figure it out pretty quickly, and they end up leaving, and they go into town. And they're still in Ba Sing Se. Keep in mind, they go into town, and keep in mind that people still don't understand just yet that the Fire Nation has taken over. The common folk don't understand that yet because the walls have not been taken down yet. But while they're walking around town on their date, he ends up coming across the girl that he went on a date with back in the Tales of Ba Sing Se. And they end up meeting each other, and May pretends to be part of the traveling circus that Zuko said he was part of, and she was a knife thrower, so she demonstrates her skills on Zuko, and then the two of them basically just leave, and it's made pretty clear to her that there's no place in Zuko's heart for her. And the two of them go to a secluded area, and they share a kiss, and they start dating. And then the next day, Zuko decides that he wants to go home. So, and then the last comic in Book 2 Earth is The Bridge. And this one, again, takes place. This one again takes place after the events of season 2, and it is from Katara's perspective. And Katara is constantly trying to heal Aang and wake him up, and it's just not working. He's not waking up, and they're on they're on the water tribe ships, and Sokka ends up coming up with the idea of destroying all of the water tribe ships and taking over a single Fire Nation ship. And then they manage to take over the ship, and they come up with we see Sokka come up with the invasion plan. We actually get to see that in the comic. That he comes up with the invasion plan of the ragtag team of their friends and allies. And Katara is just focused on trying to heal Aang. She is desperate to see him wake up. And it really shows like just how much she cares. Like that comic, like, for me, I feel like that was the moment when she fell in love with Aang. Was that time when she was taking care of him, desperate for him to wake up. Like, I feel like that's when love bloomed for her. But next is Book 3, Fire. Let's see. First off is Private Fire. I'm going to skip that. We'll come back to that later. Okay. So the next one is Night Animals, and this one just shows a cute little adventure that Appa and Momo have. When everyone at night, when everyone is asleep, some animals start approaching the camp. So Appa and Momo end up defending the camp while everyone sleeps, and it's cute. It's cute seeing them work together. Then after that, it's Boys Day Out. It's Boys Day Out, and Boys Day Out might make you think that it's going to be about Aang and Sokka, but no, it's about Katara and Toph, and they decide to go to this restaurant that supposedly has really good steak, and they won't be let in. They're not let in because they're girls. And so they both end up dressing up like guys. And Toph ends up teaching Katara how to act tough. And Katara actually starts to have a little bit too much fun with it. And so she starts acting tough in front of like everyone, and just annoying everybody until they eventually get kicked out of the restaurant. So they both go to the spa. They both just go to the spa and just enjoy some nice relaxing spa time. Then next is Ember Island Arcade. And for Ember Island Arcade, Zuko, Azula, Mai, and Ty Lee all go to an arcade that's on Ember Island, and they end up having Zuko and Azula end up having a match of what is basically Rock'em Sock'em Robots, but using characters from the show. Like, they actually took the likeness of Aang, Sokka, Katara, Toph, Azula, Zuko, Mai, Ty Lee, and Iroh. Took all of them, and is just kind of like pitting the baguette, and you can just pick whichever one you want and just pit it against each other. Azula wins the first round. Zuko wins the second. Azula wins the third. Zuko wins the fourth, and then the final match. Best three out of five. Azula wins, and Zuko gets so frustrated that he ends up setting the entire game on fire. Because he's a sore loser. Then next is Monster Slayer, and for Monster Slayer, the team is in a town, and they're really low on cash, and they hear that there's a big monster that made a growl so loud it started to shake the earth. And Aang is like, that's Appa. We should probably clear up this misunderstanding. And Sokka comes up with an idea, where he will pretend to be a monster slayer. He will pretend to be a monster slayer, and go fight Appa, and get him to fly away, just flee, for a price. So he'd get paid to do this, and everyone just kind of goes along with it, because they do need money. And turns out to not be Appa that was making the noise. Turned out to be a giant armadillo bear. And then Appa shows up to save Sokka, who was in trouble because his swordsmanship can't pierce the armadillo bear's shell. And I give credit to Sokka; he did still try to actually stay true to the act and actually be a monster slayer. His sword just couldn't penetrate the armadillo bear's shell. But Appa wound up saving the day, and the town folk rewarded Appa by giving him a crap ton of food. So yeah. Next is Combustion Man on a Train. Oh, this is one of my favorite. This is one of my favorites, honestly. Aang and Sokka. Aang and Sokka are on a train. Get on a train. The first train ever made. And they're just getting on it to try it out. They're gonna Katara and Toph are gonna meet them with Appa at the destination. And Aang and Sokka just want to try it out, and they meet this adorable little girl called Sho, and she is going from her parents' house to her grandmother's house, which is at the destination. And so she's really scared of the train, and so Aang teaches her some calming breathing techniques. Tells her to imagine her favorite animal is protecting her, and it helps her to keep calm. And then Combustion Man shows up. And he starts causing havoc. Here we go. So he starts causing havoc, and Aang gets him to the top of the train. Aang ends up getting him to the top of the train, and he ends up using the high speed of the train in order to gather enough wind to just blow Combustion Man away, send him flying. Meanwhile, while everyone else on the train was panicking that there was an attacker on the train, the little girl Show is just super calm and meditating and just breathing calmly, and she ends up teaching the breathing technique to everybody else on the train. And so when Aang gets back on, he sees how everyone is just kind of sitting down, meditating, super calm. And then at the end, like, they say goodbye to little Show, and she gives Aang a hug, and thanks him, and then just leaves. And it was super cute, and I really liked it. And the little girl Show is absolutely adorable. So I love that one. Next up is sword bending. And this one is just, honestly, this is a fight I honestly wish we could have seen in the actual show. Zuko versus Sokka. Zuko versus Sokka. Specifically, a sword fight between Zuko and Sokka. That is really cool. It's so cool. Since, like, you know, they're the two swordsmen of the team, and so it's a fight between them, and Sokka, he does hold his own, but he keeps losing. He keeps losing. He keeps switching up his fighting technique to throw Zuko off, but Zuko continues to get the better of him in swordsmanship. And Sokka keeps calling it sword bending, and Zuko keeps telling him to stop calling it that. And so then Sokka ends up throwing his trusty boomerang, and Zuko ends up yelling, "Hey, no boomerangs in sword bending!" And he gets hit in the head with the boomerang. He still won because Sokka did still cheat, but Sokka says, "Doesn't matter, I won in the war of words." So yeah, that one was really cool. I like that one. No benders allowed is the next one. Aang, Toph, Katara, Zuko, and Haru all head off to go do some intensive bending training, and leaving Sokka, the Duke, and Teo all by themselves, and so they end up creating this luxurious looking tent, and end up making their own club. And when the Benders get back, Sokka allows Momo to go in, but doesn't allow any of the Benders in, saying no Benders allowed. And Aang really wants to go in, and everyone's like telling him, you don't need to go in there. You don't need to go in there. That's dumb. That's stupid. And they keep telling him. Okay. They keep telling him there's no point in going in there. And then the next day, Aang is on his knees begging Sokka to let him into the club, and Sokka's like, "I guess I can make another exception." Turns out everyone else wound up wanting to be in the club. Even Zuko wanted into the club. And so everybody ends up just having fun together. And my boy Sokka, he just outsmarted all of them. 'Cause, like, they're all being they all exclude him from their training sessions, and yet he's nice enough to include them on a benderless club, on a club made for people who can't bend. But they do have to recite an oath. They do have to recite an oath. But they all do. They all do. They all recite the. They all recite the oath. So it was really funny. Next is Love is a Battlefield. For this one, this is during the time when Sokka and Zuko are off at the Boiling Rock, and Katara tries to get Aang to practice some firebending. He's got romance on the mind, and he tries talking to her about it, and she keeps dodging, and it gets to the point where he gets upset, and because he's thinking that he's starting to think that maybe he's wasting his time, that maybe he's just gonna get hurt in the end. So tensions are kind of high there. Then there's next is Dragon Days, and I like this one. I really like this one because throughout the series, we keep hearing Aang mention a friend of his named Kuzan. We actually get to see Kuzan in this comic. And we get to see that the two of them were like really good friends. And he was a good kid, and they found poachers trying to lure a dragon away in order to steal the dragon's egg. And they managed to beat the poachers and get the egg back and return it to the dragon. It was just really cool to get to see Kuzan. Next is Game Time. It's just the team on Ember Island playing hide and seek. It's just the team on Ember Island playing hide and seek, and Sokka's it, and Sokka ends up just searching around, finding everybody, and Zuko doesn't quite understand the game. He thought it was hide and shriek, that you hide, and then when the seeker comes around, you're supposed to try to scare him and get them to shriek. So he doesn't quite understand the game. But yeah. And now it's on to the three bonus stories. Boomy versus Toph. In Boomy versus Toph, the two of them keep talking smack about each other, and comparing who's the better Earthbender, and Sokka ends up suggesting that they have an Earth Rumble to see who's the better Earthbender, and the two of them end up fighting, and the fighting ends up getting so chaotic that Iroh, Zhong, Piandao, Pakku, Zuko, and Katara all have to step in. All six of them have to step in order to stop them. It's declared a draw. It's declared a draw since there was no winner. Then after that, is new recruits, taking place in which, based on the way, based on the location that everybody is in, as well as everybody's attire, it seems like it's taking place in season 2. And basically, the team is looking for another. The team is looking for a new member, and there's a girl called Annalee, who can shadow bend. She's able to manipulate her shadow to do. To do various things. Then there's Hiroshi, who is an earthbender, and he has a dragon made of rock that he created himself. He created a rock dragon with his earthbending skills. Then there's Vizola, who is a snowbender. Basically she takes the water out of her pouch and turns it into snow, and she has a snowboard that she rides around on with all the snow that she's created. And then there's Riley, who can bend cookie dough. Yes, cookie dough bending. Cookie dough bending exists. Yeah. Now, as far as their obviously Vizola is water tribe, and Genji is Hiroshi. Genji is the name of the rock dragon. Hiroshi is an earthbender from the Earth Kingdom, and Annalee, she's a shadowbender from the Fire Nation. So that's a bit odd. That makes me wonder if shadow bending is something that firebenders could potentially do. Yeah, the 4 of them apparently didn't like being judged, and they decided to form their own team. So none of them wanted to join Team Avatar. Then it's gym time. Lastly, it's gym time, and in that one, it's chibi art style. It's the chibi art style, and it is the chibi art style, and it is it's basically a school setting, and all the characters are there, and Aang and Azula are picking people for their teams, and it comes down to Mei and Zuko, and Aang has his full team. Azula can only pick one more person. She picks Mei. And then Zuko ends up asking Kyoshi, "What am I?" And Kyoshi tells him, "You're the ball," and just picks him up, squishes him into a ball, and just throws him. And that's it. So, I'm going to... That's getting uncomfortable. That's going to be very uncomfortable if I have to keep that up. Okay, let's try that. All right. So, no, let's try. I just need a bit more. Just a bit more. All right. Okay, so okay, how about that? That work? Yeah, that way there's no glare. This way there's no glare. All right, so the two books, comics that I did not cover, Divided We Fall and Private Fire. Those two comics were exclusive comics for the different DVD sets. Book 2, Volume 1, 2, 3, and 4, they each had 1/4 of the Divided We Fall story. And then Book 3, Volumes 1, 2, 3, and 4, each had 1/4 of the Private Fire story. And so those, I probably know those two stories the most out of all of the stories here. Those are the two that I read the most. But Divided We Fall, Aang, Sokka, Katara, and Toph end up getting stuck in a storm that brings Appa down. Everybody gets separated. Aang ends up dealing with some nasty what is it? What are they called? Something bats. It's here it is. Snake bats. They were snake bats. Okay, so he ends up dealing with snake bats, while Katara and Sokka end up dealing with some thugs. They're dealing with some thugs, and Toph is stuck in a house at the top of a hill, with an old lady who's dressing her up in pretty dresses and forcing her to eat her cooking. So the team ends up Katara, Sokka, and Aang all end up dealing with their issues, and they end up meeting back up with Toph. Turns out the thugs are actually the children of the old lady, and they're not actually that bad. They do whatever they can to survive and provide for their mother. So the team is reunited. All's well that ends well. Cute. It's a cute story. Then there's Private Fire, where in order to earn some extra cash, Sokka ends up joining the Fire Nation military as Private Wang Fire, and he does not make a good impression. And they think he's incompetent. He wants out. He wants to get out because he knows it's not worth it. So they decide to help him fake his death. He leads the battalion that he's part of to a location where Fire Nation enemies are supposed to be, and Waterbender and Earthbenders are supposed to be there, and he goes in alone to deal with it, and then the cave collapse, and his commanding officer is sad to see him sacrifice his life to bring them down, and sees him as a hero, and so he manages to get out of there with all his friends, and it's funny. It's a funny little comic to see Sokka in this position. So, but that was the Lost Adventures. Oh boy. That was 28. There's still 31 more. Oh boy. We're not even halfway done with this yet. Oy. Anyway, next up is Team Avatar Tales. First, there's Rebound, and Rebound is about May, and it's about May. Oh, actually no. Should I talk about these? Because some of these are kind of referencing. Yeah, some of these are referencing the other comics that I haven't talked about. So maybe I should. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of these are taking place after the events of the series. So instead, I'm gonna talk about these two: Katara and the Pirate Silver and Suki Alone. So starting with Katara and the Pirate Silver, it takes place in the second season, and Toph is down talking Katara, telling her she's not tough, that she wouldn't make it in a tough crowd. And then Katara ends up getting separated from the gang, and winds up finding herself in the middle of a Fire Nation colony in the Earth Kingdom, and her only means of getting out lies with pirates. So she ends up begrudgingly teaming up with pirates in order to get out, providing her waterbending services to them to help them make a clean getaway. And she doesn't like it. She doesn't like the fact that she has to work with pirates, and she has to help thieves. But as she sticks around, she starts to learn that these pirates aren't exactly like criminals. They certainly seem like it from the Fire Nation's perspective, but what they're stealing is medicine. They're stealing medicine so they can give medicine to people in surrounding villages that need the medicine. And yeah, it is a business. Yeah, it's a business. They sell the medicine, but they're not like, it's not like highway robbery. They have it be cheap and affordable for everyone. So she starts to see that, not everything is so black and white. Not everybody is either good or evil. There can be a mixture of both in everyone. It's a cute little one volume story. And next is Suki Alone, and this is taking place in season 3, shortly before the Boiling Rock 2-part episode. Suki is in the Boiling Rock, and she ends up trying to make a few friends there to help her survive, and to help her survive, she ends up getting her hands on some beans, she ends up getting her hands on some beans, and she ends up her and her new friends work together, um, and find a location that the guards don't pay attention to. Then it's a blind spot in the prison where they're able to grow a little garden of beans. And as they grow more, they'll begin to share. They'll begin to share the beans with other inmates that they trust. And eventually, once people are able to eat like actual decent food, they'll be able to get their strength back. And then, who knows? Maybe it could lead to rebellion, and they could escape, and everyone could escape. And so the plan seems to be going good for a while, and then one girl that Suki trusted betrays her, sells her out to the warden. She sells Suki out to the warden in exchange for getting an upgrade and basically being a high valued prisoner, where she gets a lot of benefits. And Suki is about ready to break down after being betrayed like that. But she ends up having a vision of Avatar Kyoshi, who tells her, "Your friends haven't abandoned you," and telling her to stay strong. So she does, and then the last thing we see is Sokka and Zuko approaching the Boiling Rock. So, yeah. This was a really cool story that really showed like the strength, intelligence, tenacity of Suki. Suki was always a really cool character. It's unfortunate that we didn't really get much of her in the series until the Boiling Rock, and then she was part of the series after that, in every episode after that. But she didn't. It sucks that it took that long for her to become part of the group. So we didn't really get to have her stick around for long. So, next. So that's 30 that I've done. We're halfway. So next is The Promise. Parts 1, 2, and 3. So, I'm just going to give a general synopsis of the plot of this whole trilogy, and I'm not going to go too into detail as to what happens in each volume. So you guys can read it for yourself. You can buy this. You can buy all 3 volumes, or you can buy like a single book that has all 3 parts. There's also a hardcover version that comes with extra information. I don't have any of those to show off for you guys. They're quite expensive. They are quite expensive. I will be getting them though. I will get everything Avatar related. Because it's my favorite show of all time. Love it. But yeah. So in The Promise, it's been what was it? 1 year, 2 years? 1 year. It's 1 year after the events of the series. So Aang and Zuko have a promise that if Zuko ever starts going down the same path that his father went down, if he starts doing terrible things, that he wants Aang to stop him. Um, and so Aang promised to do that, and a year later, someone tries to assassinate Zuko. A non-bender tries to assassinate Zuko, and he ends up going to where she's from. He ends up going to the little town where she's from, which is a Fire Nation colony in the Earth Kingdom, and he starts. He looks around. He sees the people, and he comes to realize that this town has people from the Fire Nation and Earth Kingdom just living in harmony. There are people in the from the Earth Kingdom and the Fire Nation just living in harmony together. Earthbenders, Firebenders, non-benders, all just coexisting. And he didn't think that was possible. He didn't realize that was something that was possible. And so he starts to think, okay, well, maybe this can be an exception. Maybe this colony can be an exception. Maybe something can come about from this. And so he stops supporting the Earth King's movement to have all firebenders leave the Earth Kingdom, and he starts to defend this settlement, and while he's doing that, Sokka and Toph are at Toph's metal bending academy. She made a metal bending academy and currently has 3 recruits that she's trying to teach metal bending to. They're not very good, but they show more potential than anyone else that she's met. Of course, the potential is still not much. It's not much potential, but it's still better than nothing. Their school has a rival firebending school, and so there ends up being a battle between the two schools, where the firebending school's 3 best students will go up against Toph's 3 students, and whichever team wins, the loser team school has to shut down. So they do a lot of training, and her students end up coming out on top. The main plot of the story takes a backseat in part 2. But it all comes to a head in the third part, where it looks like another war could potentially break out. It looks like another war could potentially break out, Aang, after talking to people, after talking to all the people from the village, he decides to side with Zuko and be like, hey, it seems like people from all walks of life coexist here, so let's have this be a study case. Let's see what happens if we leave this city alone. Can something better come from this? And so he stands up against the Earth Kingdom and explains all that, and says that Earth King, if you don't accept this, you're not just going up against the Fire Nation. You're going up against the Earth Kingdom, the Water Tribe, and the Air Nomads. So they so the Earth King agrees to have this be a little study case to see if anything good can come from this. And then the end of the end of the comic. The end of the comic shows Zuko talking to Azula in a straitjacket, saying that he wants her to coax Ozai into telling her where their mother is. And that leads directly into the Search trilogy. It leads into the Search trilogy, and this, honestly, I think this is my favorite. This is my favorite trilogy. It answers the one question I still had from. It answers the one question I still had from The Last Airbender. What happened to Zuko's mother? It answers that question. So I'm not going to spend much time here because, honestly, out of all the comics, I feel like this is the one that most people would want to read. And I do not want to spoil it. I do not want to spoil all of the big surprises. So I'm not going to talk much. I'm not going to talk much about this one. I'm just going to say the main synopsis is Aang, Sokka, Katara, Zuko, and Azula all end up traveling together. Yes, Azula actually travels with Team Avatar for this adventure because she wants to know what happened to her mother as well. And there are some we get plenty of flashbacks finding out about Ursa's past, finding out about her past, how she became married to Ozai, what her life was like being married to him, and just all of the struggles that she went through, and we end up meeting several different spirits. We meet a giant blue wolf spirit, that basically the blue spirit is based on. The blue spirit mask that Zuko has, it's apparently based on the blue wolf spirit. So you can imagine it's not exactly happy that Zuko was using its likeness. But also we end up meeting the Mother of Faces. The one who created every face in existence, and the mother of Ko the Face Stealer. And so she plays a part in the whole story, and I'm not going to spoil exactly what her part in the story is. But they end up meeting several characters throughout the story, and you're left wondering, which of these characters is connected to Zuko's mother? Because it's pretty clear that one of these characters has a connection to Zuko's mother, so which one is it? Azula has some interesting information, to say the least, about Zuko that could potentially undermine his entire rule as Fire Lord, if it were to get out. And so she's trying to find their mother to verify if it's actually true or not. So she has her own selfish reasons for doing this. It's really nice. We get a conclusion to Zuko's search for his mother. He does find his mother. I'm not going to say how, but he does, and it's a really cute story. There's a big battle against Azula, And Azula is probably at her most sympathetic in this trilogy. If this trilogy actually made me feel bad for Azula a few times. So yeah, it's fantastic. Best trilogy in the comics. So next is the Rift trilogy. And the Rift trilogy, Aang has acolytes. Aang has airbending acolytes, non-benders who want to learn the ways of the air nomads. And so he's excited to show them this special festival that leads down that starts at a statue of Avatar Yang Chen and leads down into a grassy meadow filled with flowers. When they get down to where the meadow is supposed to be, there's a industrial plant there. There's an industrial plant there, and progress is starting to be made. Meanwhile, Aang is continuously having visions, strange visions from Avatar Yang Chen, as if she's trying to warn him of something, and he's not sure what it is. He's not sure what it is. So Toph ends up getting a little crush. She ends up getting a little crush on the engineer, funny enough, he actually has the same name as the guy that Toph in Legend of Korra said was Lin's father. So we actually get to meet Lin's father in this trilogy. So that's really cool. We still don't know who Sue's father is. I honestly, I'm still in the boat that it's Sokka. I'm still in the boat that it's Sokka. But yeah, so the person who is paying for all of this turns out to be Toph's father. So Toph's father is paying for all of this, and he's not happy to see Toph. He's basically Toph's mother divorced him, and he lost the respect of all the other servants, so now he's just a businessman. He's just a cold businessman, and he does not see her as a daughter. And so that's kind of heartbreaking. Aang eventually finds out about what's going on, and finds out that there is this spirit that Yang Chen fought and defeated years ago, back when she was the Avatar, and he said that he would return, and the time of his return is almost here. And so he has to be ready. So he does return. He's causing havoc. The whole place is about to. The whole site is about to collapse, and Toph is basically keeping the whole thing from crushing everyone to death. And Aang ends up fighting. Aang ends up fighting the spirit, and manages to beat him. And the spirit basically sees that there's no room in this world for spirits anymore. That the time of spirits is over, and the time of mankind has taken over. And Aang basically has to come to terms with, things change. Things change. He has to come to terms with that, and he has to be okay to let change happen. Be open to change. He can continue to remember the past fondly, but he has to be open to change, and he understands that now. And so they manage to he manages to get everyone out and save Toph, and Toph reconciles with her father. It's another really good story. I think this might be my second favorite trilogy. So next, okay. Next is Smoke and Shadow. And this one, in this one, Ursa is returning to the Fire Nation after being gone for so long, along with her new family, to not spoil anything in the search. They're all there, and the strange occurrences are happening. Children are being abducted at night by what reports say are spirits. So Zuko and Aang are working together in order to try to find out what's going on. What do these spirits want? Why are they kidnapping children? Are they angry at the Fire Nation for something? And they pretty quickly figure out that it's not. They're not spirits at all. It's Azula. It's Azula and a group of Ozai enthusiasts that are doing this, trying to undermine Zuko. Of course, Azula, she's not necessarily trying to undermine Zuko. She's trying to make Zuko desperate enough to do something terrible. So people will lose faith. People will lose faith in the peace-loving Zuko, and basically she's trying to corrupt him. If he ends up being willing to do something terrible once, he'll end up doing it again and again and again, until eventually he will become just like their father. So in that sense, she will win because she will have turned him into their father. Of course, Zuko's got his friends to help. Zuko's got his friends to help him stay on the right path. So her plan doesn't exactly work out the way she hoped. And her and her team of her team of her and her team of girls basically all just leave. They run away. And yeah, that's basically it. It was an okay trilogy. Smoking Shadow was, but not my favorite. Next is North and South. North and South. So in this one, the team returns to the South Pole, and things have changed a lot. It's a lot more advanced now, than it used to be. Paku and Gran are together. Paku and many people from the Northern Water Tribe helped to rebuild their home, make it better than ever. And Sokka and Katara's father, Hakoda, is seeing someone. He's seen a girl. He's starting to fall in love, and Katara is not liking it. Sokka is completely fine with it. He wants his father to be happy, but Katara doesn't like it. Because to her it feels like her mother is being replaced. And there are issues between the northern and southern water tribes. There are issues between them, and civil war is on the verge of breaking out. And so it's up to Team Avatar to basically stop civil war from happening. And they do manage to stop it. They manage to defeat the man who was trying to make civil war happen. And Katara throughout the trilogy learns to accept that her father will always love her mother, but he needs to move on. He needs to be happy. That it's what her mother would have wanted. So she learns to accept that and accept his girlfriend as part of the family. And interestingly, my cat. Interestingly, Hakoda ends up talking. Hakoda and his girlfriend end up talking about what they would name their kid if they ever had one. And one of the names thrown around was Tonraq, the name of Korra's father in Legend of Korra. So yeah, that's really cool. Because that kind of implies that Korra may actually be related to Katara. That Katara may actually be like it may end up being Katara may ends up being Korra's great aunt or something like that. So that's really interesting. Also, just as a little side note, this trilogy gave everybody like brand new outfits Katara and Sokka got new Water Tribe outfits that look really nice. Aang got a nice Aang got a nice new Avatar airbending outfit that is very snug and keeps him warm. And Toph has an earthbending outfit with lots of fur lining around it, and it looks really cute. So I like how everybody got new outfits in this. So next is imbalance. So imbalance. So in this, they return. In this, the team returns to the same little village. That the team returns to the same little village that was in the rift. That was in the rift. And it has changed a lot. It's now just a full-on city. It's now a full-on city. And it's now a full-on city, and people from all walks of life are here. Basically, the people of this city learned from the city that Zuko and everyone protected in the Promise. That city was a study case, and the study was very positive. And so this city is becoming a hub for every kind of bender, for people from every nation. And it is being run by a handful of people, representatives for the Fire Nation, Water Tribe, Earth Kingdom, and non-benders. They each have a representative in this city, and an earthbender, the earthbending representative is she doesn't like non-benders being in the city, and she believes that the city should be for benders only. And so she's causing a lot of issues. She's causing a lot of issues, and the team is telling Aang to take her bending away. That he needs to just take her bending away. And he's like, no, I can't just go around taking away the bending of anyone who starts causing trouble. I don't want the Avatar to spread fear. If I were to just start taking bending away from people who cause trouble, people would be afraid of the Avatar. So they're trying to fix the issue, and they undermine her. All her authority, and stop her little rebellion before it can begin. But she still refuses to see the error of her ways and continues to fight. And it gets to the point where he has no choice but to take her bending away. And then she has two daughters, and one of them had betrayed her and given the team information that allowed them to bring her down. He was about ready to take away the bending of the daughter that didn't back down. And then the lady is like, no, just take me prisoner, let her go. And so they do. They take her prisoner. Everything is resolved. The Kyoshi, Ty Lee and the Kyoshi warriors end up showing up here, and Ty Lee ends up teaching the Kyoshi warriors how to chi block. Toph decides to bring her students here to this city, as well as to look for more potential metal benders here in the city, since there are so many earthbenders here. And Sokka doesn't like that it's called like Fish Village. What was it? Fish? Is that what it was? Let me look at the. Okay. Yeah, I think it was like Fish Village. And Sokka decides Fish Village. Nah, that's not a good name. Let's call it something else. How about Republic City? This whole trilogy was just one big prequel to Republic City, just showing us how Republic City got made. Showing us the early days of Republic City. So, that is really cool. I love that. This is my third favorite story, my third favorite trilogy of comics from the series. So, now that we've gone through that, now we're on to Team Avatar Tales. There's 11 left. Alright. So first off is Rebound. So this is Rebound takes place after the events of Smoke and Shadow, and in Smoke and Shadow, basically things aren't working out between Zuko and May ends up breaking up with him. He doesn't break up with her; she breaks up with him, and Zuko actually is, believe it or not, Zuko is actually getting pretty close with Suki in the series, in that trilogy. In fact, they started to get closer in The Promise, because she became his personal bodyguard. So, but this is taking place after that. May is helping her aunt run a flower shop, and a guy ends up asking her out, and she's just thinking, well, it'll give me something to do. So she ends up going out with this guy. And he ends up taking her to a rally of Ozai supporters led by her father. What he's planning is treason and stupid. He has no actual plan. He just basically plans on having him and a ragtag team of people just go and try to fight Zuko by themselves. And there's 10 of them. It's incredibly stupid. Her mom and dad divorced, and he took her little brother Tom Tom, and he's basically just introducing Tom Tom to all this danger, and so May basically just grabs Tom Tom and is like, me and my brother are getting out of here. What you're doing is stupid. and and so she ends up just defeating all members of his little group, and just leaves, and it goes back to her aunt's shop where her and her little brother end up living. Um, then it's next is the substitute, and this one is is in the team is in need of some food. They are in desperate need of food. Their food reserves have run out, and so Sokka ends up going, and he ends up getting a job as a substitute teacher, just to get enough money to buy them some food. And unfortunately, one of the kids ends up finding out that he's not the substitute teacher they were promised. And so, in order to keep their mouths shut, he basically has to spend all the money that he earned as a substitute teacher. He was paid up front, and he had to spend all their money, all his money, to pay them to keep quiet. Then next is Shells. I'll save that one for last, because that one's a kind of a special case. So next, Sokka's poem, and this is just a cute little poem about Sokka, talking about how, yeah, he may be a goofball. He may be a goofball. He may screw up, and he may end up being the butt of the joke a lot. But he's always doing his best to be a part of the team. He's always working hard to come up with the plans. He's always working hard to keep everybody on schedule. He's always this poem basically shows that he doesn't sleep very often. He doesn't sleep too often. At least he doesn't sleep through most of the night. He stays up and guards everybody while they're asleep. He guards everybody while they're asleep, and then once a certain amount of time has passed, then he himself also ends up sleeping. That's why he ends up going into a deep sleep. That's why he always ends up going into a deep sleep in the show whenever he does end up going to sleep. So that kind of explains that. Next is Toph and the Boulder, and this is a cute little story where Toph reunites with the Boulder, and the Boulder ends up revealing that he actually got a pet. He got a crococat. He got a crococat, which is a crocodile cat, and the crococat is just very angry and constantly yelling and screeching, and he has no idea what to do. Anytime the word vet is spoken, the shrieks get even louder, and the crococat starts trying to scratch whoever said it. And so they're trying to figure out what the problem is. Maybe it has something to do with the food they're eating. So they try multiple different brands of food. They try really expensive food. They try some fresh fish. And the Boulder gets a massive fresh fish. And the crococat just eats the whole thing in just seconds. And then they take their eyes off it, and the cat's gone. So they're searching around for it. Toph uses her seismic sense to figure out where the cat is, and realizes, oh, that's why it was acting weird. She ends up showing the Boulder where it is, and reveals that it had kittens. It had little croc kittens. it had little croc kittens, and so it was eating a lot in order to have the strength to feed its kittens. So, it's a very cute little story. Um, so next is origami. Next is origami. Um, and Yeah, in this one, Aang, Sokka, and Katara all visit a little town similar to Haru's town, where all the benders were taken from the Fire Nation. They end up visiting that town, and this is taking place during the first season. This one is. Most of these take place after the show has already ended. Um, and and basically all the benders are gone, and so they fight off the Fire Nation and they fight off the Fire Nation and send the Fire Nation packing, and a little family basically thanks them and um invites them over for dinner. And Katara is feeling kind of down because like she's in yet another town where all the benders were taken away, and this time she has no idea where. This time she has no idea where they were taken, and now that they've shown their face, they can't exactly do the same plan of getting her arrested, because they know she's not an Earthbender. So, so she's not feeling very hopeful right now. And then one member of the family, um, basically reveals that she has her own special type of bending. Well, kind of. It's paper bending, origami. She uses origami, and she shows the three of them her collection of all the different origami things that she's created, and it's gorgeous, and fills Katara with a sense of wonder. And Katara ends the girl is talking about how it's a useless skill, and Katara just gives her words of encouragement and makes her feel hopeful again. And then the girl reciprocates that notion by giving Katara one of her favorite pieces of origami and tells her, "I hope this gives you hope." And it does. It does. It's an adorable little story. Now, what's next? There's two others. Sisters is the next one. Honestly, I think this one might be my favorite because Tylee is feeling down. She feels like something is off. Something feels off. She's part of the Kyoshi Warriors and she loves it, but something doesn't feel right. Something feels off. So Toph decides to take Tylee to the circus to just enjoy a day at the circus. And Tylee realizes, wait, this is my circus. This is the circus I was a part of. And she ends up reuniting with her sisters. And we actually get to meet all of her sisters in this. We get to meet all of her sisters. There's Tylum, there's Tylum, Tylin, Tylat, Tylau, Tyliu, and Taiwu. And it's super cute. They have a really cute reunion, but they can't seem to agree on anything, and Tylee ends up storming out angry. They start arguing, can't agree on anything. Tylee tries to leave, and then they end up seeing a couple hooligans, a couple troublemakers about to set fire to the carnival tent, and Toph ends up taking out the firebender. Ty Lee tries to take out the really big burly guy, but her chi is all off. She's not her chi is all off. Her aura's out of whack, and so like her usual strength, her usual nimbleness is not applying here. And then her sisters all come to her rescue. And they apologize for arguing, with her, and they want to have a relationship with their sister, and so they reconcile. And Ty Lee ends up going back to the Kyoshi warriors, with her aura back in place, back to normal. And it's so cute. It's a really cute story. I'm super happy we get to see all of Ty Lee's 6 sisters, because they were mentioned in the show, but we never got to see them. So that was really cute. And then the next one is the Scarecrow. And this one, the team. In this one, the team. The team comes across a farm field with juicy looking pumpkins, and Momo tries to take one. The farmer pops out, gives the team a scare, and then explains to them that some small flying creatures have been coming into his pumpkin patch and stealing all his pumpkins, and he has no idea how to get rid of them. Qatar comes up with an idea, and they basically tie Sokka to a post, and basically have him dress up like a scarecrow, so he can flail his arms around and scare them away. And the creatures that are coming are raccoon crows. They're raccoon crows, and Sokka does end up successfully scaring them away, and then the next day, Sokka, Katara work together in order to create a normal scarecrow, but one that has like some strings attached that connect to a river, and as the river flows, it will basically cause the scarecrow to constantly be moving around. And when a strong gust of wind happens, the arms are just going to go flailing all over the place. So that'll help keep the raccoon crows out of the farmer's hair for good. And so he thanks them by making them some delicious pumpkin pies. And yeah. So yeah, it was a cute little story. Lastly, Shells. Now this lastly is Shells. Now this story, now I say lastly, except we still have 3 more stories to cover after that. Now Shells was a special little comic that was included in where is it? I can actually like show you guys. Here we go. not that one. It's in one of these collections. I have so many collections of Avatar and Legend of Korra. Okay, I think it's in this one. Yes, it's in this one. So here, it comes with a two-sided comic book, the Legend of Korra complete series Blu-ray steel tin collection. So this came with it, and Shells was one of the two comics that was shown here. So yeah, it's really nice. So I like that one. And basically, Sokka and Suki are in a shell shop. They are in a shell shop, and he's just looking at Sokka's just looking at exotic shells, and the shop owner is being really snippy and rude to Suki, and she starts snipping back. So he tries to get her. He tries to get her out, and tries to have security escort her out. And Sokka's like, "Yeah, I wouldn't do that if I were you." And he doesn't listen. So she ends up beating up the security guard. And then they end up meeting up with this girl who has been going through a rough time. She's been getting bullied a lot. And Suki basically offers to Suki basically helps her get rid of her bully problem, but also offers to teach her how to defend herself. And the girl asks Suki if she can invite a few of her friends to also learn. And so Suki ends up just getting a bunch of students to learn how to fight from her, and it's really cute. So we're almost done. We're almost done. So, we got three more comics left, and then we're done. So next is Toph Beifong's Metal Bending Academy. And in this one, Toph is feeling kind of burnt out of the same old routine with the Metal Bending Academy. She's getting a lot of different students, but none of them are nearly as good as the first three students that she had, which she still has. And so she's just sick and tired of the same old boring routine, and so she wants to mix it up. So Sokka and Suki end up inviting her to a concert, and the concert is of the hippies. Apparently, they've become famous. Their music has become famous. So Sokka, Toph, and Suki all end up going. And after the concert, when Toph's just walking around, she ends up seeing the leader of the hippies, and he just talks about how, like, when he first started performing. It was just about bringing people together. Uh, but now it's it's become a business. It's become a demand. He did it for the love of the music, and now it just feels like he's only doing it because people want it of him. People expect it of him. It doesn't seem like he's doing it. It doesn't feel like he's doing it for the love of it anymore. And she understands that. She sympathizes with that. She feels the same way with her metal bending academy. She did it before because she wanted to, but now it feels like she's doing it because she's obligated to. She ends up, and then Toph ends up coming across a girl that can lava bend, the first ever lava bender. Well, not necessarily the first ever lava bender. Technically, in the lore, there have been a few other people before this that have been able to lava bend. But this was nobody really understood what lava bending was back then. So this is the first official lava bender in this story. Toph sees how they have a really tough life. They fight in fighting rings just to make a living enough to survive. She decides to take this girl under her wing. And she herself can't lava bend. Toph can't lava bend, but she can help her to learn to control her bending. And so she ends up having a thought, yeah, they're doing it because they're obligated, but also what they do could help make lives better for people who have a really hard time. And so when she thinks about it like that, she's like, you know what? I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this. As long as what I do is helping make other people's lives better, then maybe that's enough. And so she explains that to the hippie, and he's like, I didn't think about it like that. And so he ends up getting his love for music back. And it's such a cute little story. Cute little solo story for Toph. Next is Azula in the Spirit Temple. This is taking place after. This is taking place during the events of North and South. We don't see Team Avatar. We don't see Aang, Sokka, Katara, Toph, any of those. We don't see them in this because they're off in the South. It basically follows Azula after her and her group of girls. Ran away at the end of Smoke and Shadow. The rest of her team is kind of fed up with her BS, and so in the middle of the night they end up just kind of abandoning her, and so she goes and is trying to track them down when she comes across a temple. It starts raining, so she seeks shelter in the temple, and so she then starts hallucinating in the temple. She starts seeing things, this temple is a spirit temple. It's the spirit within the temple tests humans, basically the spirit here is trying to redeem Azula. They're trying to redeem Azula. They're trying to redeem Azula. They're trying to get her to see the error of her ways and try to get her to turn over a new leaf. And Azula is just having none of it. She's like, I don't care. I don't want redemption. I don't want redemption. And so she fights against it and manages to get out. And then she finally finds her group of girls that abandoned her, and they don't realize she's there. She could easily get the drop on them and kill them, but she decides not to, and she just decides to walk away. So it shows that there is still humanity in her. There is still humanity in her, and this really made it clear that Azula is haunted by the decisions she's made, by the life that she has led. She is haunted by it, but at the same time, she is so deep into that life that if she were to turn around now, it would feel like her entire life up to this point had meant nothing. That everything she has gone through was for absolutely nothing. And so she feels like she's in too deep. And that like there can be no redemption for her, that this is her path and she has to walk it. So it's nice to see like this is very much like psychological. It's like a psychological trip for Azula, and it's very interesting. Very cool. And the most recent of the Avatar comics, The Bounty Hunter and the Tea Brewer, Iroh and June. And this one is also taking place after the events of Smoke and Shadow, during the events of North and South, focusing on Iroh and what he was doing during that time frame. So he's at his tea shop in Ba Sing Se, and he is serving tea to his customers. Happily. Everybody loves his tea. There are occasionally some naysayers who are just haters, because haters gonna hate. But all of his fans basically drive those people away for him. So he never has to intervene. And then June shows up. And manages to get the drop on him and abduct him because somebody put a bounty on him. And it was a large enough bounty that it would basically set her for life. So she basically would never have to worry about taking another job again, because it's revealed that bounty hunters don't have much purpose anymore. The world has become so peaceful that nobody has need for bounty hunters anymore. So it's really difficult to find work. She ends up taking him to a city where basically a lot of like former criminals are living. A lot of former criminals, former bounty hunters, and mercenaries, and all that stuff. They're all living here in this. They're all living here in the city. They are, quote, honest, hardworking criminals. She ends up meeting up with some old friends, some old bounty hunter friends, that she thinks very highly of, and they run a farm, and they're living peaceful lives, and she's confused. She knew them as like badass bounty hunters, and now they're farmers, and so she's starting to think, maybe there's something else for me. Maybe I could do something else. And it turns out the person who hired her to get Iroh is someone who used to work under Iroh, someone who was a Fire Nation spy that was behind enemy lines in the siege of Ba Sing Se. And when Iroh retreated, him and his squad wasn't able to get out in time. They weren't able to get out in time, and he was the only survivor of his squad. And so he's hated Iroh ever since, for abandoning them. So, and yeah, it actually like goes into Iroh's past and shows like kind of like, yeah, what happened to his son was messy, but at the same time, when he retreated, there were already firebenders that were behind enemy lines, and they were just kind of trapped. And he did leave them. He did abandon them. It doesn't shy away from that fact, and it's so interesting. And but June, over the course of this journey, she's seen that like Iroh really has changed. He's no longer the same firebender he once was, and he's matured. He's redeemed himself. And so she goes to all of her old friends and uses the money she was given for handing Iroh over in order to hire them for one last job. And they go and basically save him and take this guy down. And Iroh basically, June basically says that she's retiring from being a bounty hunter, and now she's got to find something else that she can do that will still allow her to travel. And Iroh decides to hire her as a tea gatherer. She goes and explores the far reaches of the world for exotic teas, and brings them back to his tea shop. Brings them back to his tea shop. And yeah, they're business partners. Also, one little note, Iroh has a girlfriend in this. Iroh has a girlfriend. He talks to June about it, and he mentions that he's got a girlfriend in it. Let me see if I can find the page. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. Iroh's got a girlfriend. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, I'm so happy for him. We also get to learn about June's past. And how her father was actually a Earth Kingdom soldier, and her father was an Earth Kingdom soldier, and her mother was a thief. Her mother was a thief, basically like a female Robin Hood. She stole from the rich and gave to the poor. That was her motto. She did not steal from innocent people. She only stole from rich people who were incredibly selfish with their wealth. Like if it was someone who was wealthy but gave the poor things, shared the wealth, she wouldn't steal from them. She had morals. Her father fell in love with her mother, and the two of them ran away together and had her. And then one day, they were finally found. The Earth Kingdom soldiers finally found them, and she and her father got away, but her mother was captured, and she never saw her mother again. And she traveled the world with her father, in order to. He taught her the trade. He taught her the trade of being a bounty hunter and skilled thief and all that stuff. And she became a bounty hunter because of her parents. And yeah, it's so cute. We get to learn so much about June and her backstory. She was such a cool character in the show. It sucks that we only got to see her in 3 episodes, Sozin's Comet Part 1 and 2, and then Bato of the Water Tribe. Those were the only episodes we got to see her in. So it was really cool to see more of her and to really get to know what her backstory was like, and get to know where her story ends up at the end of the series. And it was really cool to get to see like more of Iroh's more of Iroh's past, and how he's also haunted by the decisions he's made. Like, those soldiers, their deaths are on his hands. He did leave. He left. He abandoned them, and he fully acknowledges that he made mistakes in the past. He did horrible things, and he should have stuck around long enough to make sure that everyone got out. But he left before he could make sure that everyone had gotten out safely. So he does know that it is his fault that those people died. So yeah, it is a very interesting story. Honestly, out of all five stories out of all five like solo stories, Katara's, Toph's, Suki's, Azula's, and this one, Iroh and June, like, this is by far my favorite. Out of these five, this one's my favorite. I love it. It is such a wonderful story. It is such a wonderful, beautiful story. So yeah, there we go. That is every single comic, every single Avatar: The Last Airbender comic. Every single one, right there. So